Hello friends, welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, Karens, and everything in between. Hope you're all doing awesome today. Be sure to subscribe if you're new here, and let's get right into today's Reddit posts. Today I effed up by getting my son expelled from kindergarten. A boy in my son's class has been known as a bully to a few others in their class. There have been incidents of this boy choking other kids with his hands around their necks, picking up sand in the playground and rubbing it in unsuspecting kids' faces, pushing kids down in the playground slide, and just overall tormenting by random punches to the arms and shoulders. My son came home and told me about the choking incident, and I was concerned. Then I heard from other parents stories about how their children have been victims of this. Then one day my son's demeanor changed. He was irritable, angry, and throwing tantrums at every little thing. We were shocked by this because he's usually pretty chill and goes with the flow. Through some interrogation, I found out he has been the victim of this little tyrant and has been hitting him randomly throughout the day for a while. I don't know if it's just a quick jab and it never gets noticed by the teacher or what, but I believe him because of this child's known history. I emailed the teacher about the situation and let her know that I knew of other things that had happened surrounding this particular student. She said that she hadn't seen anything, but that she would keep an eye out, not confirming or denying the other situations I referenced. This boy's behavior didn't change, and he has consistently been hitting my son. At this point, and after talking with other parents some more, I am extremely distraught about this. Now comes the F-up. At pickup every day, there is a drive-through pickup line, and a place to grab your kid when they are released on the side. There is a big lawn where they are released, and there are lots of parents who stand and talk at pickup after the kids are out. This allows the kids a little extra time to play and get some energy out. While I am there talking with a mom from my son's class, I glance across the lawn and see this boy swat my son in the back of the head. It wasn't friendly, and it certainly wasn't called for. My son turns around with a pained look, holding the back of his head, and the boy pushes him down. I excused myself from my conversation and started walking to my son, who at this point had gotten up and started running in my direction with this other boy hot on his trail. He's basically being hunted. My son runs into me face first into my belly. I wrap my arms around my son, look up, and the boy is still running at him. And I kicked him. I put the sole of my shoe right in his chest. Not really hard, not this is Sparta style, but enough to knock him back and on his ass. Call it instinct and unconscious motion or whatever you want. I honestly don't even know if I meant to do it or not. It just happened. This was in front of about 100 people. Immediately I'm swarmed by parents asking what the F is wrong with me, why would I kick a child, etc. I only spent about 15 seconds trying to explain before I realized that this was a futile effort. I quickly get my son's bag and we walk to the car. By the time we get home, the principal has called my wife and is on the phone when I walk in. My wife is disgusted and mortified, and honestly, so am I. It wasn't an okay thing to do, and quote, "it just happened" hasn't been an acceptable excuse. Later that week, we were called into administration and told that they had no choice but to expel my son, admittedly through no fault of his own. There was a parent-led petition to get this done, in addition to a smear campaign against me calling me violent and unstable. This is a private school, so there really isn't due process or whatever you would find in the public school system. It's a money and politically driven system, though I don't know if even building them a new science building would get me out of this one. If it wasn't bad enough, this has affected lots of other things, because I'm my son's baseball coach too, and this has gotten around our league. My wife is beside herself, and I don't even want to get into how that's going to play out. So this is where we are. My son will need a new school for the fall, my reputation in the community and neighborhood is shot, and my marriage is now probably in major jeopardy. All for a bully. Edit. So I guess I need to clear some things up. The all for a bully at the end wasn't meant to mean all because of a bully. I am taking responsibility for my actions. I was obviously wrong. I didn't go into detail about my communication with the school about this issue. My wife and I met with the teacher 11 days before this happened. In that meeting, it was reiterated that she has not witnessed what I was describing. I did not meet with any administrative people, but I CC'd the principal on the email I sent to the teacher after our meeting, recapping what we had talked about. I probably should have met with the brass, but hindsight is 2020. Since this gained traction, I wanted to add a little more. It seems I mischaracterized my quote kick as it was more sticking my foot out to put distance between him and my son. Nonetheless, there was a decent collision and he was knocked down. Some people are stuck on the smear campaign I mentioned. I don't have an arrest record, and I could find hundreds of character referrals for myself, both professionally and personally. The narrative that I am violent and unstable, though without context it may certainly seem so, is without merit and was designed to force the school to act, which was the basis for my son's expulsion. It would make sense to not want a dangerous man around children, if that were actually the case. Others seem to think that I feel what I did was okay. It's not, and I've said so numerous times. Sometimes things happen and I'm ready to accept whatever comes my way. I'm not dodging accountability. I retained counsel after the incident for 2 reasons. First, of course, if anything should come my way from this, whether criminally or civilly. But it seems unlikely as these people don't like involving outside entities into their business. Secondly, to see if there is any recourse against the school. For this reason, I am not going to name and shame as some people have suggested. There is CCTV everywhere, including the pickup area and playground. My attorneys have requested it and we'll see how that plays out. There is a contingent of parents rallying around us, some publicly, others in private, but they are in the minority. I feel like I'm learning who our friends really are, which I guess is a silver lining to this debacle. Lastly, we're not moving. This may be a defiant stance by me, but I'm not going to let this be any more of a disruption than it's already been. We've been in the neighborhood for a decade, our house is paid off, and I'm not going to let the way people perceive something drive us away from the life we've built. The public school we're zoned to is a good one, and it will be fine. Yeah, it's good that OP pointed out that it wasn't really much of a kick, but more so just putting your foot out, and it sounds like the kid is the one that charged into OP's foot. And if that's the case, the school should be able to see the footage and know that that's the truth. But even so, the school has already made their decision, and I doubt they would take it back. And on top of that, the gossip and rumors are already out in the neighborhood, and those things are kinda hard to change too. So it is unfortunate, but it sounds like the damage is already done and there's probably not much you can do to change that. The best thing OP can probably hope for at this point is that nobody takes him to court. But even if that does happen, there would be footage and witnesses to what actually went down, as well as other kids and parents that can probably attest to this bully's past behavior. But hopefully it doesn't have to come to that. Sure is a mess of a situation, but it seems like the only thing you can do at this point is move on. Karen is sick and tired of eating takeout. Karen gets arrested. This happened during the pandemic. A fellow restaurant owner in my area was doing takeout/delivery only during the pandemic. When restaurants in our state were told we could open up for dine-in at 25%, he decided, as did I and many others, to not open, as it just wasn't worth it. All orders at his restaurant, be it a delivery service or customer picking up a takeout order, was done outside. Nobody except employees were allowed inside. Orders were taken outside to the parking lot by an employee. This happened a few days after the 25% was announced. Enter Karen and her not Karen friend. They drive up and get out of the car. An employee is delivering a takeout order and sees Karen and her friend, tells them the restaurant is not open for dine-in. Karen is not happy, proceeds to scream how sick and tired she is of eating takeout, and they will serve her and her friend now. The employee tells her that is not going to happen. Karen kicks him in the leg. The employee manages to still get in front of her so she can't get in the door. Karen doubles down and stomps on his foot. The owner witnessed the initial kick and subsequent stomp, tells an employee to call 911 while he runs out to help the employee. Karen, not knowing the police are already being called, screams to her friend to call the cops. Her friend has done nothing. She is frozen in place in the middle of the parking lot, not believing what she is witnessing from Karen. Karen is still trying to get in the door, but can't, as an employee she assaulted has fallen in front of the door. This would have been a good time for Karen and her friend to leave. Cop shows up and Karen thinks he is there to order the owner to let her and her friend eat in. Oh, delusional Karen. Cop tells her he is there for a reported assault. Cop calls for an ambulance as a second cop shows up. Karen starts screaming that the employee is faking his injury as a third cop rolls up. Karen screams that she was the one assaulted. An ambulance shows up and starts treating the employee. The owner invites one of the officers inside. Meanwhile, outside, Karen demands to leave. Nope, not happening. She has to stay while this is being investigated. The owner has cameras inside and outside. Karen's tirade is all on camera, including the person who was getting his food delivered by the employee. He had his camera rolling and got audio of Karen in all her glory. When told she could not leave and was going to be arrested, Karen reacts by screaming and pinching the cop on the arm so hard he had a bruise. Oh, Karen's friend never moved during all of this. The owner said her eyes looked like tennis balls bugging out of her head. She was allowed to leave as she did nothing. The employee had 2 broken toes. Yup, raging Karen stomped that hard. Karen was handcuffed, put in a police car, and taken to jail. All of this because she was sick and tired of eating takeout. One of the cops came by the restaurant the next day to ask about the employee. He told the owner how in the last month or so there has been an uptick in people getting arrested, banned from businesses, and getting trespass orders, who have never been in trouble with the law, in the age group of approximately 55 to 70 years old. Yup, Karen, 58 years old, never been arrested, no problems at all, will likely serve some time in jail. Their reasoning? They are frustrated over this COVID-19 thing. Entitled tourist gets mad because I didn't care that she was American. My dad runs a local tourist group in my town, and on the weekends I usually help out if I'm not doing anything. My job is mainly to interact with customers and answer questions and explain the local rules, and just generally make sure they don't do anything stupid that will upset the locals. I quite like talking to the people while we travel to a destination. So anyway, last weekend I went with my dad to help. We stopped at the hostel to pick up our group, and I was helping the people on the bus, and this lady and her family stepped forward and I greeted them, and the lady said we are from the States. The way she announced it, it was like she expected me to clap or get excited, but I just said that's cool and asked her to please get on. She seemed offended but didn't say anything, and when everyone was seated we left. This lady proceeded to brag loudly about America and why it's better than my country, and kept looking at me whenever she made a comment. She was making everyone uncomfortable. I just decided to ignore her and speak to the others. One of her kids apologized for her obnoxious behavior when she was distracted at a site we were at. It's terrible when a kid has to apologize for a grown adult's horrible behavior. The rest of the day went good, with her occasionally saying something about America, but she went quiet towards the end. I guess she realized I really didn't care. Or maybe it's because the others in the group, including her own family and fellow Americans, were avoiding her and looked embarrassed to be with her. But yeah, that's my entitled story. Side note, not hating on American tourists. Most are quite respectful. Loud, but respectful. And just as an extra detail, OP points out in an edit that this is in New Zealand, since for whatever reason a bunch of people in the comments seem to be assuming that it was in Europe. Anyway friends, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed, and also subscribe to the channel for more Reddit shenanigans. So take care, and I'll see you next time.